China has used microwave weapons to push back Indian forces during a military standoff in the Himalayas. Both sides have been engaged in a bitter dispute over the border that separates the two nations in the Ladakh region this year, following a fatal clash in April which left several dead. Forces have since bedded in for a harsh winter, with troops, artillery, tanks and air defense systems in place. This is despite ongoing talks between military commanders on both sides who are attempting to settle the dispute. Now, a Beijing-based international relations expert has claimed China has made use of highly focused beams of radiation in order to drive away Indian forces. The weapons reportedly make use of microwave pulses which can cause pain and discomfort to human targets. Use of such weapons have been seen by analysts as a way around using conventional weaponry such as guns. The use of guns and explosives is banned on the disputed border following an agreement between India and China in 1996. Jin Canrong, a professor of international relations at Beijing's Renmin University, made the claim of microwave weapons use in a lecture. He described how China's People's Liberation Army beautifully gained territory in two strategic hilltops that had been occupied by Indian forces without an exchange of gunfire. The professor added, Beijing didn't publicize it because Beijing solved the problem beautifully. In contrast, he claimed India lost miserably. Mr. Jin said Chinese forces had deployed the microwave weapons to the bottom of the hills and aimed them at the peaks. He claimed Indian forces on the hilltops began to vomit as a result of the microwave beams within 15 minutes and subsequently retreated. The Times reports this may be the first time such weapons have been used against hostile troops. Other countries such as the United States have used electromagnetic radiation weapons before. They use high-energy beams of radiation which are capable of harming humans but also destroying electronics or missile systems. Such weapons have been referred to as direct energy weapons. Some, instead of using electromagnetic radiation, use sound waves. There is much speculation of such weapons having been used before, though usually against diplomats in foreign nations. In 2016, U.S. Embassy employees in Cuba complained of headaches, nausea, nosebleeds and feeling sudden pressures. They allege a hidden sonic weapon was used against them, and the case has become known as the first in what is referred to as Havana Syndrome. Similar incidents have affected several other U.S. officials in countries such as China and Russia, where the reported illnesses are specific to certain rooms within buildings. One skeptic, Robert Bartholomew, a medical sociologist at the University of Auckland in New Zealand, told Australia's ABC News it's just science fiction. Meanwhile, India has warned Beijing's actions in the South China Sea are eroding trust and called for a long-awaited code of conduct covering the volatile region to be completed. New Delhi's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar outlined India's position on the disputed waterway at the East Asia Summit, which brings together the 10 members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations (ASEAN), along with India, Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, South Korea, Russia and the US. Mr. Jaishankar pointed to the importance of adhering to international law, respecting territorial integrity and sovereignty, and promoting a rules-based global order. Without naming China, the minister said India was concerned about actions and incidents in the South China Sea that erode trust. He said ongoing negotiations on the proposed code of conduct should not be prejudicial to legitimate interests of third parties and should be fully consistent with the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea or UNCLOS. Beijing has been pushing ASEAN members to wrap up negotiations on a code of conduct for the South China Sea. Premier Li Keqiang raised the issue during the ASEAN-China summit last week, which many saw as a bid to consolidate Beijing's influence in the region. The Code of Conduct is aimed at regulating activities in the South China Sea, where China is embroiled in disputes with ASEAN members such as Vietnam and the Philippines. China's claims of sovereignty over virtually the entire South China Sea are contested by Taiwan, the Philippines, Brunei, Malaysia and Vietnam. Beijing rejected a 2016 arbitration ruling invalidating most of its territorial claims in the South China Sea, which resulted in an increased U.S. military presence in the region. This has led to regular displays of Chinese military muscle flexing, which Washington has branded bullying and coercive, and has accused China of attempting to build a maritime empire in the area. The latest flashpoint between the two superpowers has been Taiwan, a self-ruled democratic state which China views as a renegade province to one day be brought back under its sovereignty, by force if necessary. Washington has enraged Beijing by signing a series of arms deals with Taiwan, and Chinese military chiefs have responded with yet more saber-rattling in the region. Chinese fighter jets carried out saber-rattling sorties above the Taiwan Straits on 25 days in October as tensions between Beijing and Taipei reached boiling point, according to defense officials on the island. The Taiwan Air Force scrambled its own jets on a number of occasions when the Chinese fighters approached the island's self-proclaimed Southwestern Air Defense Identification Zone. Wei Dongshu, a Beijing-based military expert, say this shows that the Chinese mainland's military forces have made patrols in the Taiwan Straits routine and normal, and they have achieved complete monitoring of any anomaly on the island or from foreign forces that might occur. The mainland will adjust its activities in accordance with the situation. If Taiwan or foreign countries like the US conduct further military provocations, the PLA could demonstrate more of its abilities, including anti-access and seizure of aerial superiority and sea control. Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman Colonel Tan Kefei said, "The PLA operations came amid America's latest weapons sales to the island, which seriously violates the One China principle and the Three China-US joint communiques, and severely interferes in China's internal affairs and undermines China's sovereignty and security interests." Taiwan's defense authority said China mainly deployed its Y-8 anti-submarine warfare aircraft, Y-8 reconnaissance aircraft, and Y-8 and Y-9 electronic warfare aircraft. Defense analysts said these warplanes can monitor surface and underwater vessel movements, gather electronic signals and intelligence, and jam the electronic devices of opposing forces. Global Times editor Hu Zijin accused the island's ruling Democratic Progressive Party or DPP of promoting anti-China sentiment and working with Washington to jeopardize the rise of the mainland. In a fiery editorial, he said, "The fighter jets of the People's Liberation Army or PLA must fly over the island of Taiwan to declare national sovereignty and show the determination to exercise the anti-secession law." This is the firm step the Chinese mainland needs to walk in a bid to lock down Taiwan independence tendencies. The mainland should clearly warn the DPP authorities that if the Taiwan military dares to open fire at mainland warplanes flying over Taiwan, it means war, and the PLA will deal a crushing blow to the Taiwan military.